Good morning, folk. Welcome back to a Chart Nerd technical analysis video. Today we will be discussing Stronghold. The ticker is SHX against USDT on the daily time frame. So nothing too serious on the charts at the moment. I've just got a couple of key support and resistance zones within certain patterns. So just to start off, we have this descending resistance that's been on our head since the all-time high. So you can see that every time SHX has come into this sort of range, we have had some deviation points, albeit said, but when we do come up to this sort of descending trend line, we tend to get rejected. But we also have a very key level of support. So we're literally caught between a rock and a hard place in this downtrend. We also have a falling channel that we're stuck in at the moment as well. So between this support and resistance, you can see we've just been caught between a rock and a hard place for a while, trying to find the bottom here and get the breakout. Now bear in mind, this is a bullish reversal pattern. We've come up to a top, we came up very explosively here, and now we're just correcting back down, looking for a key level of support before continuing the trend, I do believe, for Stronghold. So what we need to do for now is, I've pointed out you've got this descending resistance that needs to be broken. So if Stronghold does come up and hold this as support at some point, look for continuation of the trend here. That's one sign to give confidence that we are looking to break out. It's tackling this trend line, confirming it as support and looking for the break. But failing to do that, I have also got a key level of resistance on the chart and a key level of support within this downtrend. So I do think that we are at the moment sort of range bound between this red zone and green zone. So we've got resistance at the 0.005 range and support down here at 0.003. I mentioned in my last video that this range was previously resistance and support back here before the last impulsive move to the all-time high. So this was from January all the way up until February, where we eventually broke out. And right here you can see again that we've come back down to this zone and we're sort of range bound looking for the break. We've ran into resistance, support, we've had the bottom here, come back up into resistance, and now we're coiling up looking for the next leg. So if we can hold a higher low somewhere here, I think we're looking good for continuation, and eventually all we're doing something very similar to here. We came between this range, we was choppy for a month or two, eventually built the base and broke out. Right now we've done something very similar. So I wanted to show you something very similar. In this sort of pattern here, we had this sort of triangle that was coming back to a key level of support, and once it actually broke out from this point, we did see Stronghold just move very impulsively and literally obliterate this 0.005 resistance. Now we have to bear in mind that this was a different time for SHX. We was in a very impulsive move, and right now we are in a correction. The trend is our friend until the end, but we are seeing similar signs. So if you think about this sort of triangle we had here before the breakout, right here from this level of resistance, we also had something very similar where we was caught under resistance right here, descending resistance in this downtrend, and we held support on this green zone at 0.003. So the fact that we've held that, we've done something very similar here where we broke out of this triangle and ran up to resistance, okay? But this move did not see no slowing down, and we just melted up into a new target. Right now we've broken this triangle downtrend where we've held support on 0.003 for some sort of triple bottom here. You've got a low, another low, and this low here, okay? And inside this descending resistance, we actually broke this resistance on the 5th of September, and since such we've retraced back down, back up to where this resistance formed for us at 0.005. So this area here where this descending resistance was created, we've just broken out and ran back up into where it started forming, okay, the resistance level. So 0.005 is a very strong range of resistance. There is also another reason as to why we have ran into this range, and that's from going from the local wick low down here, retracing back up to this wick high of which we fell from and came down to this wick low. What you'll notice is that we've ran up exactly to the 050. To a T, we ran up to it exactly at 0.0052. And I posted this on X and I said, hey guys, look, we're bouncing off of a key level of support here. Yes, it's fantastic, but we've got resistance above on previous resistance levels and support levels. This area right here, this 0.005, is a range that's very interesting because there's been multiple points of contact in resistance and support. So it was no wonder that we actually met this area as resistance. So the fact that we've met this this and we're starting to pull back here, I think we're just looking for a higher low to build up continuation before re-attempting to tackle out this 0.005. Now, why do I think that is? Well, I honestly think potentially what we could have here is you got this left shoulder, this triple bottom was a large head, and potentially all we're doing right now is just holding this neckline here, looking to form some potential right shoulder where we can build up some sort of base before looking for a takeoff here where we start breaking out. So if that's the case, we can get a rough estimated target. Again, this doesn't have to come into play, guys, and if we do lose these local lows here, which we are holding of the left shoulder at 0.0042, you can see that if we come across here, this area is also very important to hold. It was previous resistance in this downtrend here in that triangle before we broke out. Remember I said earlier we had the descending resistance on our head here, so it was resistance, and it's also been support back here in early July. So right now we are holding this left shoulder support and looking to form this right shoulder. And if we do have a technical target and this inverse head and shoulders does come into play, then we've got a technical breakout target once we tackle out of this resistance that will bring us back up to 0.008. So that is one way to look at this, guys, if you think we are sort of building a inverse head and shoulders base here, which is a huge potential. Again, as I said, to validate that, we just have to hold this left shoulder neckline, which we've actually come back down to and touched the support a couple of times already in the last couple of days. You can see that on the 9th, 10th and 11th for 3 days, we actually held this support the same as this left shoulder support here. So as long as we can hold above this and above this previous triple bottom neckline, which we're currently holding now, I think we're looking good for continuation. At the same time, why I also think this is a very good sign is because we've got a bullish cross on the daily time frame. So just let me clear all this off for a minute. A lot of wicks on this chart, isn't there? But what you'll notice is we formed this sort of bottom here. We had this level of resistance that we needed to break. So we had this sort of triple bottom where we was underneath a level of resistance. We've broken out. We've now confirmed this resistance as support, and we're looking for continuation of the trend. Now, whilst holding this level of support that I mentioned at 0.0042, which is still the left shoulder neckline of the inverse head and shoulders, it is equally a bullish cross support. So all we have done on the daily time frame is drag these EMAs up and back tested them looking for continuation. Velo has done pretty much exactly the same thing on the daily time frame and has already had an explosive sort of move from its daily bull cross and is now looking to form a weekly bull cross. Is Stronghold about to do the same thing and play catch up? Because this is a bullish sign. Now, if we look back at some of the previous times when we formed a bull cross, there was one here where we came up from these lows, we built up this higher level of support, and once we formed that bullish cross, we did have an impulsive move and a breakout for a back test before continuation, but we eventually lost that and continued this downtrend. I'm hoping that this bullish cross here that has occurred towards more of an end of a correction is the one that gives us the sign here. This is a bullish sign, guys. It's a very strong sign. The fact that we've come down to these lows, we've broken out, we've run into a key level of resistance at 0.005, we've come back for support on the EMAs, hold the EMAs here, and this inverse head and shoulders neckline at 0.0042, I think we're good for continuation. I really do. We're showing good signs on the daily time frame. We've had this sort of triple bottom play out that that I've just covered recently. We've broken out of the descending resistance that we was under. So it's called a triangle sort of bump and run. You've broke out and off we've gone. Now we've formed a bullish cross. We're looking to back test it for support before continuation of the trend. If we do see a breakout here, and these are the lows at this sort of 0.003 range, which is a key level of support from last year. Since January, we've actually been holding this 0.003 since January. The fact that we've held this bottom, okay, we've broken out of that resistance, we've ran up to a key level of resistance at 0.005, which was previous support here in April. It was resistance back in January of 2024. It was resistance in August. It was resistance in July. You know, can we come up here with this bullish cross, hold these EMAs, and look to finally tackle out of this 0.005 range? Because again, once we get back above this level, guys, once we get back above 0.005, I think it's go time. I really do, because again, resistance, it was just shy of support here. We eventually lost that, confirmed it as resistance here in July, put in this really downward sort of crash into this wick, came back up to the EMAs, built this base under the 20 for a while, had this descending resistance. We broke the resistance, ran back up into 0.005. Now we're holding this bullish cross of support, looking to build that right shoulder where we can tackle out and push on to 0.008. So that would be my next technical target, I think, 0.008 for stronghold. And does that have any sort of confluence for us going back up to, let's say if we go back up to the all-time high, is there any confluence around the 8 area from this low back to the all-time high? You've got very strong confluence at around 0.0078 roughly, so not too far off of this inverse head and shoulders target, where if we do come back for this inverse head and shoulders, this is the neckline here. I'm not going to go off this really large wick, I'm going to go off the shorter ones. And if we drag this up and eventually break out of our resistance point, which is actually not bang on. So if we do eventually break out, then as I said, you can see it takes us up to that 0.008 range, and the 0618 is at 0.007. So if we can hold these EMAs here and slowly creep up an ascending level of support underneath this resistance, I think potentially we could get the breakout of 0.005, and at a minimum push up to these local highs here at 0.0062. And if we are in this potential inverse head and shoulders where we're just forming this right shoulder now, then it does give us the target back up to the 0.88. So that's my sort of outlook today. We've got a bullish cross on the daily time frame, which is fantastic. We've broken out, ran into a key level of resistance. We're just pulling back for a key level of support, looking for continuation of the trend. If we start to lose this left shoulder support and the EMAs, okay, if we start to lose 0.0042, I believe it is, if we start to lose that, then it could give the game away, that because we have got this also this descending level of resistance, okay, so we are caught between a rock and a hard place. If we lose support, we go short, and I think we could come back down and retest these 0.003 lows, but that hasn't come into fruition yet, but it's a potential. So if we do start losing this support, then we come back down, I think, for another retest on 0.003. Whereas if we can hold the EMAs here and start getting back above 0.005, then I think we're off to those higher targets at 0.0088. And what we could potentially have on our hands is, this was a wave 1, this is a wave 2. Right now we're building wave 3 on these EMAs, looking for the breakout to the point 6 range, I think it was, at a 0618, come back for a slight pullback and then go for the 88 push, and we could be in some sort of five wave impulsive move here off of these lows for SHX, or tracing back to its all-time high. Again, that's just very speculative, but just in regards to wave count. But it is pretty obvious that we do have this very key level of support that needs to hold for stronghold. We have to hold above 0.0042 in order to negate coming back down to these lows. So we've got the key support here in the past. Okay, it was resistance for a little while, and now we've broken back up and are holding it as support on the EMA cross. So we need to hold the 422 range, form this right shoulder very similarly to this left one. You got the head, form this right shoulder here on support and look for the breakout. I hope you enjoyed the content today, guys. From Chart Nerd TA, take care, peace out.